The second that you read the title of this video or this podcast, your subconscious mind 100% knew exactly why you procrastinating is self-betrayal. And for every person, it may be a little bit different. For one person, the self-betrayal may be because they're not going towards a goal that will completely better their life. And then for another person, it's because they're continuously substituting the feeling that they get from that instant gratification from going on their phone, from scrolling, from eating, for the feeling of regret, for the feeling of shame. And so we all relate, we all resonate when we see this sentence, we hear the words that procrastination is self-betrayal. It is a major form, it's a super common form of self-betrayal. Before we begin, my name is Naomi Dunn. I am an inner work coach and EFT practitioner. This is Disrupt Your Norm. I talk all things self-development. And if you clicked on this video, I'm here to help you disrupt your norm of procrastination to a better norm. And that better norm is a norm where you procrastinate less and you feel so much less shame and pain because of it. If you watched my previous video, I talk about how your laziness doesn't necessarily mean that you are a lazy person. It's often because we are trying to cultivate a very familiar feeling in the body and we're trying to make more of it. We're trying to feel more of it because that's our familiar feeling, and that's shame. So we all feel shame when we procrastinate, but yet we do anyways. In that video, I talk a little bit more about that, but today I'm giving the practical steps and the mindset shifts that you need to have to end that procrastination and end that self-betrayal. The first one is a perspective shift that I love to remind myself of, which is I ask myself a question to shift my mind to get me on the right track, which is I say to myself, Naomi, are you going to choose this feeling or this? And the two feelings that you were deciding between when you were deciding whether or not you want to do that thing is you were deciding whether or not you want to choose the feeling of discipline or the feeling of regret. And here is the thing with discipline. Here is the thing with the actual steps that we have to take in order to get the thing done. It's never actually that difficult. When you break down the thing that you have to get done, when you put it into steps and you ask yourself if you can physically do those steps one by one, forget about it as a whole, think of it individually in steps. When you break it down, ask yourself, can I do these steps? Can I physically get out of bed? Can I physically open the laptop? Can I physically click on the email tab? Don't ask yourself if you can write the entire essay, the entire email. No, can you click on the email tab to create a new email? Can I say the first sentence? When you break it down in those steps, you realize the thing that you are procrastinating 99% of the time is not a difficult thing to do. It's just the thing that we're not doing because we want to feel more of the feeling of shame because that's so familiar in our bodies, or we want to just genuinely feel the feeling of instant gratification and pleasure in the moment temporarily instead of some slight discomfort. So that's the first thing I need you to do. I need you to ask yourself if it is worth, in this moment when you feel like procrastinating, is it worth choosing the feeling of regret over choosing the feeling of discipline? It's never worth it. It's never worth it. The thing with humans, the thing with how we're designed as people is that we need the feeling of accomplishment in life to feel good. We need it. It's a necessity, okay? So you can never lie to yourself and say that you won't feel better when it's done. You always will feel better. You need that feeling of accomplishment in life or you will not feel fulfilled and you will not feel good. So yes, it is always worth the feeling of discipline. We don't need to discipline ourselves 100% of the time throughout an entire life where we don't actually feel like we are living, we're just ticking off to-do lists. No, there is balance in every single thing that we do. But if we don't have the balance of structure and play, of doing and being, you won't feel good as a person. So what do we do about the discomfort that can come sometimes from the things that we are procrastinating, from having that phone call, from doing the thing that we're desperately trying to avoid? Sometimes it may come with discomfort. There are things in our jobs that will always inevitably come with discomfort in the body. And the way to combat this is actually through shifting your mind. The thing is, we don't feel anything in the body before we have it in our minds first, in our subconscious and our conscious. Things are thought and then they are felt. So in order to lessen the discomfort of anything we are doing in life, we have to start up here. We have to start on the inside. If you have ever worked with children, if you have children, you know this one thing about especially toddlers. is that they pick up on their parents' fear. So if a parent is reacting fearfully about a situation in front of a toddler, which happens, that's okay if you're a parent. I'm not telling you to feel shame about this, but you will notice if you react and you show your fear in that moment about a certain thing that you're afraid of, maybe something on the TV, a shark or whatever it is, the toddler will pick up on that and then begin to become fearful when they see the thing as well, because they receive the message that that thing is scary and that is something to be feared. And so I remember one time when I was babysitting and there was a spider, and this little girl, she was so afraid of the spider because her mother was afraid of spiders. And so I walked up to the spider and I said, "Oh, look at the spider, it's so cute, there's nothing to be afraid of." Suddenly the toddler, the little girl, she started to mimic my behavior, because then she got the message that spiders aren't scary, there's nothing to fear. So when we change the message in our mind, the body changes the feelings that come with it. So if we continuously think in our mind, "Oh, I'm dreading doing this thing, it's so difficult to do, I don't want to do it, I'd rather do anything else in the world than this thing that I'm procrastinating," then you are going to feel way more discomfort and way more difficulty as you do the thing. You're going to be way more unmotivated to do it. As you do the task, it's going to physically feel more difficult because you have the message in your mind that it is difficult. Okay, so sometimes we have to not necessarily lie to ourselves, but we have to shift how we think about it. So when we are going towards that phone call, instead of saying, "I hate these phone calls, it brings me so much anxiety, I might get shut down, I might have all these bad things happen to myself," you need to think of a new message to repeat. So if we perceive the difficult thing differently and we stop adding unnecessary words in our thinking, such as "this is difficult, this is going to make me anxious, this is painful," whatever words you were adding, like little sprinkles on top just to make it worse for yourself, you need to remove those words and start replacing them with ones that will even just make it seem like a more bearable thing. Maybe it's too difficult for you to think that it's an enjoyable thing right now, but if you can just make it seem more bearable in your mind and less uncomfortable, you're going to be more inclined to go towards it. The next tip I have for you is giving yourself time slots. And this can be so helpful for a lot of people, because we often have this idea that when we're going towards a thing or we're going to do a task, we're going to be at it for hours and hours and hours. And that alone is very daunting to the brain, and it makes you reject doing it. It makes the body reject doing it, making you unmotivated as you go towards it. So what can be really helpful for a lot of people is making yourself promises that you are going to do this task for X amount of time, for a time that doesn't seem too intimidating for you and for your body. 40 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours. You do it and you make the promise to yourself that when the 2 hours are done, when the 40 minutes is done, you stop. Okay, this can be really, really helpful, because especially when we keep that promise to ourselves, we get this message, we get this idea that it's not as bad as it seems. Okay, those are my 3 points. If you desire additional help with what I talk about today or what I talk about in any of my videos or podcasts, and you want some one-on-one help, one-on-one coaching, I have availability in my calendar, which you can click on in the link below to book a session with me. Please stop betraying yourself. And if you really resonate with what I said earlier about how laziness is often, I don't know if I said it in these words, but I have this video about how laziness is actually because we are trying to create a familiar feeling, because we have the identity of shame and we want to feel more shame. And that's the thing that I talked about in my previous video. So click here if you have not seen that video already. I highly recommend it. Leave a comment below, let me know what you thought, and if you have any questions or any desires for future videos for me to make, future podcasts, then also let me know. Okay, see you guys next time.